What's going on, everybody? It's Enigma Towles, and yes, we are back. We are back with another project. I know, kind of out of the blue, but I've been working on it for quite some time. This album is entitled Enigma Towles versus Everybody, Scars and Syllables. So this project, it comes out November 12th. So whenever you're seeing this, it'll be on all streaming platforms on November 12th, 2025. This video may come out the day that I recorded it. But if not, then it will be already out by the time. But either way, I'll have links in the description about this project. But I do want to go into detail about just the different concepts and what the creative process was for this one. So this project, the term Enigma Towles versus Everybody, it's been a concept that I've had for like the last 2 or 3 years, but the actual landing has not necessarily found its place up until this point. So when I was writing songs for Music from Chaos 2, which was my last project, I had concepts for majority of the songs, like, okay, I want a song that talks about this or this and that. But I felt like with Music from Chaos 2, some of those concepts did not quite stick for that project. And I've talked about it in a previous video where, like, the creative process, you gotta go wherever it takes you, and some things may not be for that landing. So there were some ideas that I did keep. I didn't expound on them at the time period as far as like the writing goes, but I just kept them tucked away. But ever since about 3 or 4 albums back, which would have been like Dreams Come True, my creative process when it comes to writing has changed. So I'm constantly doing writing sprints, which is, you do 30 minutes a day of just writing. So I'll write in my phone, I'll write on paper, I'll write in different places just to kind of keep the creative mind moving. And that's where a lot of ideas were birthed. Well, the other thing about this creative process is that sometimes, some things will stick, some things will don't. But this concept for Enigma Towles versus Everybody kind of comes from this internal battle that one person can have with themselves. So I didn't necessarily base it off of how I am as a person, but more so how I am and how I'm presented as an artist. So a lot of the concepts that you'll hear on different songs, they play off of how I may perceive my artistry versus how the world may perceive my artistry, and that internal battle that comes into play. So the first half of the album, you hear the Enigma Towles versus Everybody concept playing out. And then once you cross over to the second half of the album, which happens right smack dab in the middle between Prima Donna and From That Point On, which Prima Donna is already out. If you've not heard it, it's on all streaming platforms as well. That's where the transition happens from the Enigma Towles versus Everybody going into the subtitle, which is Scars and Syllables. So Scars and Syllables plays off of the internal battles that one can have with themselves and how they are perceived to others. So that's the more personal side of the album. And all of the songs up and from that point on can play off of just different things that a person who's having internal struggles may wrestle with, the different ideals. So for a good example would be in the song Uphill Battle. When you hear it, you're going to hear a person going through a day by day of the struggles that they're enduring and how they may be perceiving some of the things that they are challenged with on the day to day. I do like that this album came at the time that it did for me, because in my last video that I did a Q&A for, I was just quite unsure about what the next steps were for me creatively. I kind of just go where the wind blows, and there's a song on the album called Where the Wind Blows where I address some of this, where there's this expectation for artistry and how we are and we perceive each other as artists in the world. And we feel like, okay, well, there is some level or something that you say that I arrived. And I want to say that as an artist, I feel like that is a never ending process. And going where the wind blows helps an individual mold into the person that they're meant to be, because they allowed themselves to go through a process that has challenged them, given them different avenues and different things to expound upon. And you're gonna hear a lot of that conceptually through this album, and that's one thing I'm definitely proud of. So yes, definitely give the first single, Prima Donna, a listen if you have not heard it. But also just know that the full album will come out November 12th, and I'm excited for you guys to hear it. I am thinking about making a part 2 of this series so that you have an idea of what exactly certain concepts that I was sharing on the album, and you know, some of the background on them. So definitely hit it up, and definitely I hope you enjoy it. I put in a lot of time, a lot of effort, energy, mental fortitude, everything you can think of I've kind of thrown at this album, and I'm just glad to share it with you guys. I appreciate it. Much love, y'all. Peace.